you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another review and this is a very well requested one. I got a lot of you. I asked you during my Nykaa sale haul. I have a fly in my room. I asked you during my Nykaa sale haul which of the products you wanted to see reviewed first, and you guys told me that you wanted to see the Freedom Pro 12 Audacious Mattes Palette. It's an eyeshadow palette that you guys wanted me to review. So it's the palette that has made up my eye makeup exclusively today, and I have a lot to say about this. So this palette retails for around 1200 rupees and I think it's a Nykaa exclusive product, but I'm not sure. You might be able to find it on Jabong. It comes with 12 shades, some light ones, some deeper ones, and it comes with this kind of sponge tip applicator, which I have now recently learned that it can be actually a very useful tool, so I don't throw it away anymore like I used to. In any case, I am going to pull it out and put it to the side just because I'm afraid it's going to fall out anyway. This is what the palette looks like. It comes in an absolutely drugstore looking cheapish plastic packaging, and the outside you can see it's a clear glass that tends to crack and get a lot of fingerprints and all that very easily, but at least you can see the products that are inside. I kind of wish it came with a mirror because 1200 is not exactly cheap. It might be a very cheap palette in England, where I think it Freedom Makeup is manufactured, and I think it's a British company, but this palette is not worth even half the price, and I'll tell you why. The thing with matte eyeshadows is that it is very hard to nail the formula. Now I don't claim to be a makeup artist, and I definitely don't claim to be somebody who works with the manufacturing of makeup, but I know from using matte products that more often than not matte products are not very highly pigmented. They tend to be powdery and they tend to be patchy, and that is true for almost all of these shades. In fact, there are only very few shades in this palette that actually work, and I think I'm wearing all of them on my eyes today. So let me just give you a quick swatch. None of these powders are silky smooth or anything. They're all extremely powdery, so if I just go through them once, you can see that a lot of dust is kicked up. I don't know if the camera picked it up, but a lot of powder just kind of went up in the air. Now what happens with formulas like this is that when you try and apply them, number one, you don't get great pigmentation. This is the very first eyeshadow of the palette, and look at it. It has absolutely zero pigmentation. I mean, not absolutely zero, it has maybe 0.5 out of 10, but I did go in, sorry, that's the wrong shade. I did go in like this, quite roughly, and even then the pigmentation is pretty bad. The problem with this type of palette that is all matte is that you hope to find an absolutely all neutral matte makeup look out of this, but it's not really possible. And if it is, it's going to be a very limited kind of makeup look that you will be able to make with this. There are, however, some eyeshadows such as this one over here, the very second one, that has somewhat decent pigmentation, but at the same time it is very powdery and it blends away into nothingness. This is the same case for almost all of the lighter shades, which seem to look very similar. I'll just kind of give you a swatch of the top four. The top four apply very similarly and have very little pigmentation, as you can see over here. And this is when I'm swatching with my fingers, and a finger swatch tends to give you a more concentrated pigmentation. That just because a finger swatch works a certain way doesn't mean that it's going to apply the same way on your eyes with the brush. A brush is typically not going to give you as high a pigmentation as a finger swatch. For instance, supposing I take, let's say this one. This is the one, the shade number 2 is the one that I used on my eyes today, and if I swatch this with a brush, it's a flat shader brush, as you can see. If I swatch this very heavily actually with a brush, it's not going to give me the same kind of pigmentation. As you can see over here, I can build it up going multiple times over it, but even then the pigmentation is not really going to be very nice. So that's the problem with this palette. The lighter matte shades are very hard to distinguish, and they can work one for another. It doesn't really matter. And at the same time, they're all very chalky and very powdery. Let me give you a close-up of this. I hope it doesn't fall all over my equipment. If you take a look at the second shade in the top row, you'll probably be able to pick up a little bit of the powder residue that is kind of left on the pan itself, and it's falling all over the place. Another thing that happens with this palette is that there is a lot of fallout when I try to blend this, when I try to apply a lot and blend it into my skin in order to get a decent pigmentation out of this. So that becomes problematic. However, there are some shades that aren't completely horrible. For example, let me just wipe off the swatches. For example, if you take a look at these darker shades, these two darker shades, in fact even that one, they're not horrible. Of course, you need to go in pretty heavily, like I am over here. This is what this swatch like. This swatch, not so bad. Of course, that one is the one on top is extremely patchy. But if you take a look at these three at the bottom, which are essentially the last three shades from this palette, these last three shades, they're not horrible, but you can tell that they're extremely powdery again. And the problem with deep eyeshadows being powdery is that they will fall all over your makeup, and they're going to make it hard for you to apply your makeup. They're going to, ruin your face. They're going to turn your face black. And at the same time, again, even though that is the patchiest, these other three are not the best formula when it comes to, a smooth application. Even powdery makeup can sometimes be not patchy, and this eyeshadow palette is all in all not great. For today's look, I applied a little bit of concealer to work as my primer all over my eyes, and then I set it with this slightly yellower toned powder, this one over here, the last one on the first row, right here. And then I went in with this shadow, and I used this to deepen my crease a little bit, but in a matte kind of way, in a matte brown kind of way. And then I went into this, the in-house black eyeshadow over here, which actually isn't black at all, a charcoal color, which is horrible. I mean, a matte palette without a matte black is an absolute essential. Nobody really wants a charcoal unless you're going for that look, and that's not a very common look. Most people, when they buy these palettes, they're looking to have a matte black eyeshadow because that's a staple, right? So this shade doesn't even work very well as black, but in any case, I kind of made it look alright, I believe, on my eyes, as you can see. So I applied it with my finger all over the moving lid area, and then I blended it with a brush. I took a little bit of this shade, which is the third shade in the second row, on my blending brush, and I did blend it in with the crease color, and that was it for most of my eye. And while this should have not taken a lot of time because these shades are really neutral and they should have just blended away very quickly, it took me a decent amount of time to do my eye makeup today. I'm sorry, there's a fly in my room, I can't help it. So it's not the best. For my inner corner highlight today and also highlighting my brow bone, I'll use this number 2 shade, which I believe is my favorite eyeshadow from all of this because it just kind of works better than the most of them, and it's not too patchy and it's not the worst to blend. But that doesn't really say much about the palette if you just like one shadow from the whole thing. Now, for those of you who really want to buy this palette, my opinion is just one person's opinion. I don't think it's worth the 1200 bucks that you have to pay for it. I got it at the Diwali sale, so I think I got it for 720 or something. But at the same time, I don't think it's worth even that much because it is possible to get the matte shade absolutely nice for a lower price tag. So this palette from my side is an absolute I don't like it, and I wish there was a way that I could return it, because I would have returned it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even have thought about it, but unfortunately you can't do that. It's patchy, it's powdery, it's not very highly pigmented, and it's very expensive. So, and by the way, the packaging is really cheap and really flimsy, so if you drop it once, this is going to crack. I know this because it's very similar to the Makeup Revolution Essential Mattes palette, and that is also made of a very similar feeling plastic, and I dropped it once and it cracked, which is why I don't use that palette anymore, because I am not sure whether the cracked palette keeps the eyeshadows safe and sanitary anymore, so I don't use that anymore. This was supposed to be a replacement for that, and to be very honest, neither that is very good nor this. I don't recommend that you buy this, and I mean, for matte shadows, I would highly recommend that you go take a look at MAC, or take a look at like other more expensive brands at Sephora or something, because matte shadows, if they're good, then they're going to be expensive. So yeah, with that in mind, this is my review. I hope you found this useful. I hope I satisfied all those of you who wanted me to review this, and yeah, I hope you're having a great day, whatever it is that you're doing today. And if you like this video, please give this a thumbs up and leave down your comments, leave down your thoughts in the comment section below. For those of you who don't know, I have an email in which I am pen pals with a few of you. For those of you who want to be pen pals with me, who want to get to know me better, and I definitely want to get to know more of you better, for those of you, just email me and I will get back in touch. And please follow me on all of my other social media that are listed in the description box, which is my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email. So yeah, with that, I bid you adieu. I will see you next time. Bye. Oh, by the way, before I go, I just wanted to tell you, these aren't even long lasting. Bye.